Boy, oh boy, do I love work days. Not work days for me, as you know. I am a careerist in the realm of being anti-establishment. Or in other words, I reject the established conventions and norms of society so much that I'm an expert at refusing and partaking in them. Let me tell you, am I going to be able to cut this? Yes, kind of, with one hand. Let me tell you, I have not gone to school for almost 3 months now. I haven't gone for December, and I haven't gone for any of January. We're in February now. If I can keep this act up, and people don't bother me, I should be able to make it through February, no problem, and not be going to school. Which is fantastic news for me, because I'm gonna drop out anyway, and I don't particularly care. But I like work days a lot. Even though, you know, I've come to start really enjoying spending time with my family. Like, me and my dad, we get along really well. I feel like I can share a lot of things with him. I have fun when I'm spending time with him. I don't spend very much time with my sister, mainly because she doesn't talk much. But, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy how much more I've connected with him now in comparison to the past, where, like, when I was younger, I have very few good memories with him when I was younger. And most of it had to do with just the circumstances the household was in, you know, poverty and issues between him and my mom all that time, divorce and all this stuff. But, you know, in the last year or so, I've come to connect with him a lot more, especially recently. And it's been nice. It's been nice, you know, to have a father that I can connect with and these kind of things. I would have never imagined that, you know, however many years ago, just because the household was in such disarray when I was younger. But, you know, now it feels like I really have somebody who's there and, you know, who can listen and keep this place afloat. It feels much more stable than, like, when I lived with my mom, for example. When I lived with my mom, it was like every day she was in emotional disarray. It's like there was always a new thing she was freaking out about, and it never really felt like she had her hands firmly planted on the wheel, you know what I mean? And so, every day it was always something new. There was a time when that was preferable. Barely, but not anymore. I'm squeezing lemons because I've come to realize that lemons are the juice that energize my life. I can put these in almost every drink, and they're, oh my fucking god, that was a seed. I hate seeds so much. I want to kill all seeds. I don't want them to exist anymore. Lemons are the thing that make drinks taste good for me. I don't add them to literally everything, but I think I could theoretically add them to everything. Because they're just that good. They always add this kick, this nice punch that I really like. You know, what's so bizarre to me is this idea of code switching. Have you guys heard of this before? Code switching. It's the idea that depending on who you talk to, you sound differently as a result of some sort of survival instincts. Is that essentially what the idea is that anyone who you talk to, you're inevitably going to feel somewhat differently in how you express yourself. You're going to use certain intonations that you wouldn't use around other people, talk about certain things that you wouldn't talk about around other people, even if you're the most honest guy in the world. Like, you have nothing to hide. Your brain just inherently makes these connections that you speak differently when talking to this person. Is it too much whiskey? It doesn't look like too much. I'm gonna add a little bit more, though. Where's my Coke? Uh, okay, that's a pretty noticeable amount, but it's okay. But like, code switching. You know, code switching happens all the time. And I was thinking about this recently in the context of like my YouTube channel, for example, where the way that I talk online, or I should say the way that I talk to people IRL, who came from the internet, who were online, is essentially exactly the same as the way that I talk to people from the internet in the internet. Like, I sound the same, I speak the same. You start to realize little things about me, like some of the ways that I move, like the talking with my hands thing. I think someone mentioned that to me when I met them IRL, that they didn't expect me to actually do that. They thought it was just a video thing. But no, I do that all the time. So there's little physical attributes that you start to notice about someone when you meet them IRL. Little habits that they have that you can't just ignore, you know, the way that you can while you're on the internet. Oh god, this whiskey smells fucking awful. I hate whiskey so much. Time for the Coke. I'm gonna have to make this mostly Coke after this, because I mean, I need to water down this stuff with something. Fucking hate whiskey. You know, people say, okay, that's better. People say that, Jack Daniels is the best whiskey oftentimes. I would have to hard disagree with them. I don't really... Oh, is there a... Oh, it's frozen. I was gonna say if there was a pina colada in the fridge, or in the freezer still. It's not mine, but, like, just thinking about this, you know, like... People say Jack is the best whiskey. I would completely disagree. I don't think there is a best whiskey, because I just don't think whiskey is good. But, the most tolerable one I've had is, what is it? Kentucky, it was the Kentucky Bourbon, Maker's Mark. And, I don't really like any other, whiskey. Maker's Mark is just tolerable. I have to chase it with Coke, but it's just tolerable. Oh god, see, even mixing a bunch of shit in this, it still smells bad. It's too powerful. I should have just drank the rum, but I didn't want to bother the rum. But, like, if you're gonna drink something, drink tequila, drink vodka, drink rum, don't drink whiskey. Whiskey's just bad. Regardless of all that, I've noticed that I talk the same way to people IRL who I've met online as the way that I talk online. It's a pattern. And then I noticed a separate trend where the people who I meet explicitly IRL, who don't know about my channel, don't know anything about, you know, where I come from and these kind of things, I talk to them a certain way. You know, family, I start to speak with almost like a southern drawl. I don't really go to a southern drawl, but it shows up in certain ways where I literally can't do it if I'm talking to you like this. Like, I don't know how to make my brain do it. It's just a trained reaction. But it's there. And, like, so this idea of code switching, where, you know, your brain changes depending on who you're talking to, originates possibly as a survival instinct of some kind, is very interesting to me. Because I'm someone who often says that on the internet I'm more authentic than I am in real life. Not because I'm even necessarily holding any information, but because it just feels more real to me. Where I identify with the name Star far, far more than I identify with, you know, my given birth name, or any other, you know, name that I could give myself if I tried to change it. And I find that peculiar. I find it peculiar that, you know, the internet is the place that I find to be myself the most authentic in, that I can that I can really feel free, that like my identity is my own. And I think a lot of what it has to do is with the fact that, for one, you can customize your experience. You can pick out your profile picture, who you speak to, when and where you speak to them. There isn't all this, you know, social games like, hey, I'm with a friend, you want to come over, these kind of things. None of that. It's totally customized. You have freedom in choosing everything you want to do. You have freedom over what you say, how you say it, much more time with which you can prepare the things that you say, different mediums of communication that you can use to express certain things that you just can't express in real life. You know, you can't post a reaction image in a conversation. You can't turn a certain emotion you have into a communicative video that also interacts with the audience in some ways, who may, in fact, be your friends. There's all these different ways you can interact on the internet. And what the internet is, how much time I spend here, you know, more time than I spend anywhere else, I think is indicative of how much I enjoy it. You get certain people on here who say I'm agoraphobic or whatever. Not true. I don't have agoraphobia. I have paranoia at times when I'm going outside, but it's primarily when I'm experiencing psychosis, when I'm hearing voices, seeing things that aren't there, when reality is generally less clear than it would be. That's when I get paranoid. But sometimes I get paranoid without that. But it's not the kind of paranoia that can't be discernible by rational thought. Like, it's not the kind of paranoia that you can't sit down and go, okay, I know this isn't real, and then continue walking. Because, you know, in those moments you feel like it is real, you feel like it's there, and it's still bothering you, but as long as you can continue reassuring yourself that it's not, you can get home fine, you know, walking or something like that. I get that paranoia, and it doesn't impede me from leaving the house. Oftentimes, I just choose not to leave the house. I don't want to. The other part is sensitivity to light, which I'm not that sensitive to light, but it does bother me. It gives me a headache and all this stuff, and it's annoying. I feel like a vampire sometimes when I'm going out and looking at the light, because for one, it's just unpleasant. I just don't like looking at the sun. It's just never particularly appealed to me. And then on the other hand, I get this, you know, light sensitivity where immediately as soon as I go into my room, I turn the light off. And it's suspected that it's because of autism. I don't know if I believe my doc on that one, but it is interesting to think about. But like, the reason I stay in the house is because I just like the stuff that's in the house. That there's just more things for me to do here that are interesting that I would otherwise prefer over going out. Taking a sip here. Ah, I hate it so much. Even with all this Coke in here, it's still bad. God damn it, man. Do I need to add another lemon? I think I need to. I think I need to add another lemon to this mess. It tastes so fucking bad, dude. I hate whiskey. Okay. But that's the point I'm making. Is that, you know, if you can customize your reality, you know, the people you speak to, you start noticing these little patterns. And then after a long enough amount of time, you start to realize which one you prefer. Like, for example, I started night walking. A long time ago, I took a walk out at night. I didn't even know what night walking was as a concept at the time. But you know, when I was younger, I went out for a walk at night and realized that all of a sudden I liked walking. I didn't like walking before that. I always just stayed in the house as a little kid. And part of it was because of tachycardia. I couldn't do very many physical activities outside because I had tachycardia, and there was a worry that I would, you know, I would have a heart problem if I moved around too much. But other than that, I just I didn't have much of the interest. And you could probably attribute it to the fact that, you know, in those early days, I almost never went outside, and so probably contributed on some level to the way that I think now. But when I did have the heart surgery and I could start, you know, walking around on my own and doing my own thing, I started to get the sense that I, based on the experiments that I ran, liked walking at night more. Despite the fact that in the place that I lived, it was more dangerous to walk out at night, you know? It's more dangerous to walk here at night than it is. It is in most places, but I always enjoy it more. I feel more serene, calm, collected. It's as if the world around you is your own. That because there are no people here, everything that exists around you is like a playground. It's all for you to dictate, for you to control the outcome of, for you to have as a tool in your toolbox, you know? You're not sharing it with anybody. And you get this very introspective feeling that, like, everything around you is just beautiful. It's all at peace, there's no noise, no people to cloud up, none of that. You're just alone with the nighttime. And having walked around in it, you can let your thoughts subsume over you. And, it's nice. It's a really beautiful feeling. Is this enough lemon? God damn, I hope this is. Because at this point, I'm just seeking to dilute the taste of this drink as much as I humanly can. I don't like it. I never drink this stuff. Or when I do, it's always, you know, because I want to get a buzz, but I don't like the fact that I have to drink this in order to do it. So sad. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on a Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Yeah, I'm pretty different if I meet you IRL versus if I talk to you online first. I have almost nothing to say in the event that I meet someone IRL. And it's like, I say almost no words. But if you're someone who I know online, and I know I have some shared interests with you, some things I can say, I try to put in effort to talk more. And I think that's why so many people think I'm like charismatic or whatever. It's because when I put in the effort, I can be, and when I'm around someone who I can bounce ideas off of, who like I know I share common interests with, then I have an easier time talking to them. I have common interests with like almost no one who, you know, lives where I live. Almost none. Or if I do, I just hate the way that they talk about it. I can't relate to the way that they enjoy that specific thing, you know? Like, I don't relate to anyone here. And that's fine. I don't really have interests in, you know, actively seeking out friendships or relationships. But, you know, like, the best thing I can really do is kind of bounce jokes off of somebody else. If I'm comfortable enough with them to do so. But very often I'm not comfortable with people who I don't share interests with, and so I don't reveal my power level. Now, if you're behind a screen, it's easier. Because the physical component isn't there, and so you don't feel as pressured to perform. But when you meet someone, you know, that you know from the internet, it's like completely natural, because you already know the guy, so you're already comfortable around them, you know? It's so weird to think about. I think I'd be more comfortable even meeting strangers from the internet than, you know, meeting just strangers, because at least if it's a stranger from the internet, you know, they know about my channel or whatever. And so they kind of know enough about me for conversations to begin. I'm so self-obsessed, or like, you look at my videos, and most of, well, maybe not most of my videos, but like, a good majority of my videos are just talking about myself and my own issues, because these are the things that I'm constantly thinking about. Like, the way that I deal with my emotions internally is by talking about them on video. The way that I dissect my own thoughts and work through them is by talking about them on video. And so, of course, I'm going to spend a lot of time doing these, like, self-reflective videos talking about these things, because it's how I work through them. And then, at the same time, I get a lot of people, and this is the kind of content I enjoy as well, who like videos of people just talking about their own experiences and themselves. I think it benefits the world to have content out there existing like that, because it gives us a better understanding, at least from their point of view subjectively, of the human experience. Or like someone like me, I don't think there are very many people like Star. There's definitely not another YouTube channel like Star, and that's not a point of me bragging or anything, it's just me pointing it out, you know? And so that's part of why. And that's part of why you see me coming up about saying all this around. It's a pretty nice day today. I'm in a good mood.